you're generally good at what you do, but you're not consistently booked out, right? It's probably not because your content isn't good enough, but it's because the market itself has changed a little bit over the last year. What responds to now isn't like information and courses, it's actually people are steering towards implementation. And for context, I've seen this pattern across multiple businesses that I got to run. Before my consultancy, Modern Maker, I ran a 7-figure design and development agency. And even then, the thing that made the sales come through wasn't like the persuasion or the volume or all of that. It was basically giving people clarity in the form of a game plan, right? So as soon as somebody had a game plan where they had a vision that was technical or whatever, and we put that together, the implementation stage became really obvious. And then the upsells for myself and my team to build it became really natural, right? So the problem was how those game plans were actually delivered for me. So in the past, in all worlds, I had a phase of my life that had a lot of push energy, right? A lot of DMs, a lot of convincing, a lot of sales calls, and it worked financially, but physically it was exhausting for me. And I was inside this model that required constant output, and I couldn't get off the hamster wheel. And that's why I left the agency world. Like I lost touch with it, and I lost passion for it. So I started my solo marketing consultancy, Modern Maker. And the part I didn't expect in that journey is in my consultancy, the same exact thing happened, right? The highest converting thing I offered wasn't my content or my products. It was game plans that I had sent to people, right? So what I am doing, and just to show you a little bit of this here, so you get some context, is on my LinkedIn, I have this little doodle here that says tickle my brain. Basically, people would just opt in and I would give them a 1-hour game plan session. And that's been there for a long time, right? People would come in and I would show them exactly what they needed. I've been booked out for 2 years in a row, right? And what I discovered by looking at my accounts is that 10% of those people would naturally ascend into my higher ticket consulting work, right? Without the pressure, without anything, just by simply asking them if they wanted to go deeper or go faster. That was it. But once again, I filled up my calendar like crazy, and I had rebuilt the very thing that I was trying to escape from, right? And I had a daughter on the way. She's now 1. And I had to really think about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to shift the model. At the same time, I also noticed the industry with the rise of AI started shifting. Whenever I sold like a low ticket product, people bought, but they didn't actually move, right? They consumed it, but they didn't implement it. And that was driving me nuts. Like, low ticket content created the buyers that I wanted, but game plans created momentum. And that was a huge, huge shift for me across every version of my own business. One thing was true, right? Once someone had a very clear plan on exactly what they had to do, belief followed. So inside most of my own game plans, one thing I do is I recommend the same thing. I realized the patterns were always the same. I was going, you basically, as a consultant, you're strapped for time, you need a low ticket sort of ecosystem or whatever that may be, and we need to create some passive income, some leverage, right? And I would take them through the same sort of ascension. So I want to show you a little bit of what was happening in my world was this little diagram here. So all the questions were always, I would say 70% of the time, similar in nature, where the consultant was strapped for time. So I would say, for example, you need an offer pad, and inside of that, we can check like your positioning, we can unpack your model, we can basically create an offer in a Google Doc so you can sell it without sales calls, which is like an invitation document. And then you need the leverage pad. Leverage is like one of my favorite words in this system because it's basically a passive income funnel. I had this little theory that you give someone a small snack, turning a lead to a customer, then it's easier to turn that customer into a client by offering them a bigger snack, just like a restaurant menu, right? Like give them the small thing and they'll buy the big thing. So we would like mine their wisdom. We would talk about installing a funnel and then the automation that came behind it. So that to me is my favorite thing in the world, because then all they needed to do was have a post pad, i.e. pick a platform, write daily or run some ads if they don't want to do the whole organic thing, and basically feed the system, right? So backwards, the posts would get people in the funnel would create customers, and customers would ascend into clients with these automated little emails that sent the offer doc. And that was my entire model. So if I zoom in here, I was doing the plan manually. Then basically, if people wanted the fast lane, they would hire me for implementation and support, right? So that was my one post a day system that I was doing over and over and over again. So this is where I sort of realized, how do I keep delivering this level of clarity without being the bottleneck myself, right? Because I could only take four of these game plans a week, and that's how it has been. Now with a daughter, I work 3 days a week, and I'm sticking to this design. So that's where the game plan launchpad came from. I took what made those calls work after analyzing hundreds of them, like over 300 of them. What worked was the diagnosing, the prioritization, giving someone who didn't know what to do direction, and then systemizing that outcome using my one post a day system. And the point wasn't just to give people my game plan, it was to help them install a game plan in their own business and actually see the logistical patterns and the actions they had to take. Not a course, not a bunch of theory, but a personalized plan that they could take and implement right away. So once somebody starts implementing, I realized belief follows, right? People would say, Jacob, I got a win and now I believe you, versus me trying to persuade you into that belief. And the next step for me became really, really obvious, right? That's what became the one post a day system for me. It was built around, gaining that clarity, creating an offer before actually posting content, having implementation before ascension in a sea of info buyers that were stalling, and leverage basically bought us time to live, right? So in that entire process, for me, what happened was awesome, because I started seeing other people get the results, right? So on my LinkedIn, people have said, I would say some of the biggest names in the industry have come to me to install their one post a day system with the game plans. And they're saying, like, Nick over here had a 30K launch. Lewis here basically started a 200K business, working long hours, and after that started buying back his time. Matt loved his sequences, his funnels. Steph had a 38K in sale month after he started implementing this. And then Noah's talking about the energetics, and there's so many people that I had the privilege of serving, and outside of LinkedIn did the numbers myself. You can see I had a $1.2 million a year just gone, and some other people would have 20K months, 200K years. This guy, George, got 72 customers, right? And there's a mixture of people who had 40K launches, had 40 leads come to them, had 40 customers. The cycle goes on and on and on for me. I am just beyond grateful to be able to implement a system where things like this happen. And you can clearly see these transactions that I share are real, in the sense that people do buy the $9 things and then ascend into bigger tiers of access. And that is what the game plan allows me to do, right? So I am so bullish on this little game plan method for the year to come. So what I would like to do is simply just say, like, if that resonated with you and it hit a bell and you want a little bit more leverage and you want this installed properly in your business, and you don't want to figure this out alone, that's exactly what the game plan down below does. And you also have the option to message me and talk about what the fast lane inside Modern Maker looks like. So I'll drop all the details down below. You can have a look, and that's that. But regardless, I hope you learned something from this training and it got your brain to trickle in the right direction.